right, so you never, you never knew your father growing up.
No.
You finally meet him.
No.
You have to decide whether he lives or dies.
Literally that.
Okay.
So, okay, to add some context, if I can, when I turned 19, he reached out to me, and he wanted to meet me and my sister. So I haven't met him since I was born, and so we go out to Texas the first time, and like, my mom's like, oh yeah, I want to be there when you meet him because you're so tall, and X, Y, and Z and shit like that. And don't look at me like, I know you're taller than me, but
No, like, so what are you, like 6 foot?
6'1" on a good day.
Okay,
yeah,
tall.
6'1" on a good day. And so I meet him, and he's like actually seems more interested in like talking to my sister because he like loved my sister. I'm gonna talk over here. You want to talk over here?
Talk over here.
You talk over here? Okay.
Otherwise, if you look right here, it looks like a confession.
Yeah.
Let's just start right here. It's like a conversation.
Oh, okay. Because I'm about to make love with the camera. Okay. All right. And he's like really, because he like loved my sister growing up. Because my sister was there when they were together, and like my mom was in the military, so they went to Japan and shit like that, and all that good stuff. Boom, boom, boom. So he's trying to reconnect to that. I'm like, hey, I'm here, mind you, 19 years of abandonment issues. So I'm like, hey, right here, and then like we peace out and all that stuff like that, and I'm just like starting to think about it, starting to set in. I'm like, man, he didn't want me. I had to teach myself how to throw a ball. My mom thought that she had to be the mom and dad role, when I was like, I really just need a mom. So that relationship was kind of like weird because she was trying to be mom and dad, and I just needed a mom, and I needed a mentor-ish at that point, a father figure.
Did you do sports at all?
I tried.
Because I know a lot of the time, at least in the basketball community, coaches actually take on like a father figure role just by like accident. So I wasn't sure if you ever had that.
No, so I tried to do sports, but as a kid, I taught myself how to shoot a basketball. So I was like over here with it. It was going in, but it was ugly as shit. Mm-hmm. My mom wanted me to do soccer, but I didn't really like soccer. My mom like tried to like funnel her activities through my sister and me. So she tried to get me to do soccer. I wasn't really fucking with soccer. I love soccer now. Mm-hmm. She tried to get me to do football. I wasn't really into football. I was more into like video games at that point. I had to teach myself how to throw a ball and shit. And like I remember distinctly when I was 13 years old, first year of high school, and a ball went over like a big chain link fence, and the kids were like, throw it over, and I was already like getting picked on because like they all knew each other through middle school. I transferred over, so like I try to throw a ball over this fence, and it just doesn't clear it. It just comes back, and they're doing exactly what you just did right now.
No, because like I do the same thing. Because people are like, "Yo, throw the football." I just underhand that shit. Like I ain't gonna listen to it today.
And they're just like laughing. I'm like, see, this is why they want to fucking throw the football, or throw the baseball over it. And so all that's like rushing in my mind. My dad just wasn't there, So it's like he tries to reach out back to me, like, "Good seeing you," blah blah blah. And I, in so much words, say, fuck. I don't say fuck you to him, but in so much words, I'm like, I don't need you. I was ball of anger, Flash forward, I get the call, Dad's in a coma in 2000.
How old are you now at this point?
2017, and 2-3 days before my birthday, I'm turning 20. I was turning 26, so 25.
7 years later.
Yeah, 7 years later. And they're like, your dad's in a coma. We're not sure he's gonna make it. Rent a car after crying uncontrollably at the start of my shift that I have to manage. I rent a car. I tell my mom tells me, like everything about my dad, and I'm like asking her stuff, and it's starting to sound familiar because I'm going through a custody battle at this time with my son, and everything sounds familiar, and I'm like, I see my baby mom in my mom's face, and I see my face in my dad. And I'm like, oh, he didn't want to be there. It's not that he didn't want to be there. It was, you made it very difficult for him to be there. And so that actually didn't burn the bridge, but me and mom, like, it was like, So imagine having that conversation with your mom about your father. And then now you're in a car with her driving to Texas, And so I get to the hospital. The nurse and doctor pull me aside, and they're like, yeah, you're the oldest relative here. It's your responsibility if you want to pull the plug or not. And I'm like, sorry. Cool. Let me just.
How do you respond to those? Because I feel like I actually say that shit. Like, so it's like, yeah, your dog's gonna make it like, all right, cool beans.
Yeah. So my actual response when he said that, I'm like, okay. You know, and a weird twist of irony, my baby mother, who I was with, she was going to school to be a respiratory therapist at Pima Medical. So whenever she would talk about school, she would tell me all the shit about ventilators and how a respiratory therapist and all the shit like that. And so I'm like, oh, my dad's in a coma, there's a ventilator right there. This is actually the exact same model that I'm familiar with. Hey, what percentage is he on when it's a ventilator? And they're like, oh, he's 50%. And I'm like, that's not good. And I'm like, well, where was he 3 days ago? They're like, oh, he was around like, I think the number they said like 70%, 90%. I'm like, oh, he's getting better. And they're like, yeah, but you know, cases like this, X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, okay, I'm here for 2 days. I'll check to see how he is, 2 days later, I spend the time with my cousin Selena, who's been amazing ever since me and her reconnected back in 2008. She's actually the only person besides Yolanda, her mother, that I've actually been in contact with. And time goes on, I get the call, and I'm like, oh, he's 30% now. I'm like, cool. 20%, this shit.
What is the jargon they were giving you, telling you, like, why it doesn't matter that he's going from 70 to 9, it's like 70 to 50 to 30?
So the jargon, like, what were they telling me?
Yeah, like, why it doesn't matter that he's getting better.
Right, so and I'm gonna be honest with you, and this may sound fucked up. I didn't listen to the jargon that they were telling me because I knew what they were saying. They were saying, we need this bed. It's better if you pull this plug now, you Hispanic fucking family. That's what I was hearing.
You were in Texas?
Yeah.
Okay.
Texas. And Austin, which is more white than anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I read it. Granted, I'm swirling with emotions, but, I listen to jazz.
No, it's only because I was talking to my cousin, and she's a doctor in South Carolina,
mm-hmm.
and she said, I was like, how often do you have to put on your Caucasian voice?
Mm-hmm.
And she said, very heavily. It's always like she's having to prove herself.
Yeah.
Because there's so much racism, and some clients just don't even want her as a doctor. Like, can I get a white male or something like that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, he's getting. They're like, yeah, he's coming off, but with cases like this, because he had a stroke at his job, so his heart was stressed the fuck out, his blood pressure was through the roof and shit like that, and so they tell me he's getting better. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna keep him on it because it sounds like he's recovering. And then on my drive from Texas, Yolanda calls my mom, and the conversation. I didn't really hear the conversation, but my mom simply says, hey, we have to go back. I'm like, why? And she's like, because your dad's not, he's actually relapsing. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going back. And
it's too much for you.
Oh yeah,
to just even look at, like, kind of read. Because did you mentally address this? Like, it's over as you kind of left the parking lot? Or?
Yeah. As I left, I'm like, cool. I was like, I did the right thing. Like, I left him. I wasn't trying to kill my dad, man.
Well, what emotional connection is there as far as, because, like, I had my father, but he worked like 80 hours a week, and I saw him. It was a custody, so I got him on like 1 day a week where he didn't know English that well, so we just kind of like stood on the couch and watched like telenovelas I didn't understand. So like, what connection is there for you for this stranger that's just titled as your father?
So the connection for me was the conversation I had with my mom the night before, where I saw me and my dad. His want to do the right thing, it just didn't work out for him. And I saw myself, as like melodramatic as that sounds, on that bed. And the fact that I had my son, and I was in the process of fighting for my son, it was almost like a generational curse of like, my dad didn't fight for me because my mom is very strong, like minded. She took me and my sister to Germany when I was born. So I was in Germany.
It's aggressive.
super aggressive. Super aggressive.
Like my mom moved to Florida for a year. My dad was in Alaska. I was like, that's pretty weird. It's
Yeah.
pretty lame.
Yeah.
You just moved continents.
Dude, the thing was, she told my dad that she had the abortion.
Wow.
She told my dad she had the abortion. And then shit happened in her third trimester with me. After she told my dad she had the abortion and they were split, he's already building another family.
Like she had reservations,
Yeah.
to get, to do it.
To do it, yeah. And so she's like, your son. She calls him up. She's like, your son's gonna be born in 3 months. If you want to be here, you can be here. If not, you'll never see him. Essentially. And so I'm like, that's a lot of pressure to put on a dude that thought that I was dead. You know. So it was very unfortunate for him. So like I understood why he wasn't in my life at that point in time.
Yeah.
You know, and knowing the fight that I'm going through currently with my son and the things that I'm doing and avoiding, I'm like, I'm not killing this man because I see myself in him. And so, not to draw out the story, he recovered. He's alive now.
Oh, I thought he was dead.
No.
I 100% thought he was dead.
He's alive. He's kicking, you know. I shoot messages here and there, you know. Like, I keep, like, whenever I remember to message him, I'll message him. I'll probably message him after this, you know. Whatever. But it's like, I was like, I'm not going to be the cause of you dying in the most Oedipus Rex way.
That's exactly what I thought about. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just like, wow, just the orphan kills his father on accident. You
Yeah.
don't even know.
Yeah, not gonna. And my goal is to take my son to Texas to actually meet his grandpapa.
Papa.
Grandpapa.
So, do you think now that you have a relationship with him, is there a part of you that like just wants to expedite the process of getting to know your dad, or is it sort of like just this is a guy that's in his 40s or 50s and they just happen to look like?
Yeah, so I'm kind of in between that. Like, I'm not gonna be like, Father, carry me now. You know, it's just like, it is what it is. You know, it happened the way it happened. You have your own path. You have your own sons. You know, you have their own things. I don't want to take that love.
He has other children.
He has other children. He has a child that's older than me but younger than my sister.
Okay.
So, some dickenings happened.
Okay.
If I can say that.
I mean, this is the N-word.
You know, and so I don't want to take that love from him. You know, he's very proud of his sons. I love that. I love that he gave that to them.
But he knew in the back of his mind that you were always, there's always his offspring wasn't in there.
Yeah, and he called me his son and all that. So there's love there. I call him my dad. You know, he wasn't there, but to me it wasn't his fault. You know, and
what like in the day and age that we are with like social media, how do you think it's like? Well, you could have just shot me a message.
There's a borderline language barrier, and also, from what I understand, the way his path went, he stayed with my baby mom, if that makes sense.
He stayed
with the woman that controlled his actions.
Okay.
As opposed to what I did was break away from that.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so I think when I pop up, if I do pop up, I don't know if he's not like texting me when she's right there. He's like, he's a busy guy, you know, he's a correctional officer, so it's like he's texting me when he can, and it's few and far in between. So it's like I don't want to cause problems because I understand those problems that it can cause. So if it's just like a nod on the street, like, hey, I respect you, you respect me, cool. Like, that's where that story like bookends a little bit, you know.
Do you see that leak out into your creative outlets like music and improv?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Even the more serious, it leaks whenever there's a fucking TV show or movie about a father and a son. You bet your ass I'm crying. Like, I'm talking about even a parental role to a child. I'm crying. Like, have you seen Incredibles 2?
No.
It's okay if you haven't. There's this short film before it called Poe where this mom has a dumpling because her and her husband can't have a kid, and this dumpling becomes a kid. And I'm tearing up through this whole fucking thing. Like Pursuit of Happiness, I cannot watch Pursuit of Happiness.
Yo, the saddest part of Pursuit of Happiness is random to me. It's not the bathroom scene when he's holding the
Yeah.
door. It's the part when Jaden Smith drops
His
his
toy.
and he's just
Yeah, freaking out.
yeah.
Yeah, no, fuck that. That I was supposed to watch A Quiet Place with David and Vikas, and this 2018, so I don't have custody of my son yet. I haven't seen my son for a whole year when I split with my baby mom. And I was like, I was really wanting to see this movie because I want to get my mind off of it. Couldn't make it to the movie theater. Guess what fucking happens the first 5 minutes of A Quiet Place?
I don't know. I didn't watch it, but it's...
The dude's son gets eaten by a monster while he's trying to save him. I would have walked out of that theater. Like, bro, it's... Oh, man, it's just... Those type of scenes, when I write music, trying to tap into that, like, I definitely, like... I have a song called Earth, Branches, and Trees, and it's actually documenting what happened to the custody battle with what happened with my sister and I. Our relationship got a little bit rocky because she thought I could do more. Because on Instagram, I'm like posting me out and about and all this stuff like that. But she didn't know, like, at night, I'm like empty. So she thinks I'm thinking everything's all good, and she's thinking I'm not being the dad that I need to be. And I post about my mom, or I'm writing about my mom in this song. Like, the second verse is like how she raised me. And the third verse is to my son, who I haven't reconnected with yet. And like in there towards the end, you can like hear me like crying and shit. Like it's a dangerous mana to tap, but when I tap into it, it's the most realist of me that you'll ever see.
How do you think is like drawing the line between like putting your stuff out there or in between like... Because there's some like, I just say comedy because I'm not familiar with like stand, but like they don't like talking about their personal life.
Yeah.
They'll just keep it like surface level. Like Dimitri Martin, like you don't know anything about
Don't know nothing about Dimitri.
Josh Daniels, he does not drop that persona
Right.
in public ever. So like,
Not at all.
where are you just like, I really want to like just put myself out there, or it's like, is that kind of more like therapy because Hispanics don't talk about problems.
Right.
Yeah.
So for me, and I really try to like unsubscribe from that mindset of like not talking about emotions. I love talking about emotions. I feel like I'm a very emotional person. And the reason, the way I bridge the gap, not to sound pretentious or not, I don't see myself as like a rapper. I don't see myself as like an actor or an improver. I see myself as an artist. So anything that my hands touch, it's me. Like, you're gonna leave with a piece of me in anything that I do, whether it be a joke of like a situation, whether it be like something real, some real emotion. I've teared up doing an improv scene in practice to one of my buddies, great friends of mine, Anthony, and he was like, "Yo, are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I was just feeling it, like I dive into it and I leave myself in anything and everything that I do." So it's weird because I don't have that filter. It's like a hybrid method acting of like, I'm playing this character, but also there's me here. There's very like Solomonisms in anything and everything that I do, because I want people that intake my art to be like, I know Solomon from listening to this song or watching this scene, if that makes sense.
No, definitely. Yeah. How do you evolve in that, or is it kind of more? Because everyone has a story, but at what point does it become alright? Like we talked about Logic, it's like, alright, well, we get you're half black, we're half white.
We get a lot.
Well, not to sound like disrespectful, it's like how he's like, alright, we get like this is like
right.
XYZ problems.
Right.
Yeah.
And I never tap into the same story more than once. I'm ever growing, and luckily for me, I have experiences every day on everything. So each new day, there's a new lesson new interaction that I have, new bit of knowledge that I can like tap into, and I don't do it the exact same way. Like, I'm not just like you look at Kevin Hart. Like, I'm a grown little man. It was very much like it was that level of him, his dating life, and then it was Seriously Funny, and it was like different stories. Like, he didn't retell the.
It's just like what the chapter of his life is. Right?
Yeah, the chapter of his life. So.
Do you look at it some things? Because I see as I go back over older material, I'm like, all right, I could do this a lot better.
Yeah.
And I always wondered this with like when people that make music, it's just like, let me just remake this song
Yeah.
because I'm so much better now.
Yeah, I had that thought I think a couple weeks ago where I'm like, I want to redo this record because I can actually execute it a hell of a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely have that, and it's like it's unfortunate because instead of me now trying to remake that song, I try to make a song that may be like a similar topic, but with the experience that I have now to kind of show that growth. Like Chance the Rapper.
Mm-hmm.
So 10 Days, he was very much like teenage angst. I'm angry, and then Acid Rap, he was very much depressed, and then Coloring Book, he was happy, and he's making kind of the same songs. Like Summer Friends on Coloring Book was very much so acid rain, same level of depression. There's more hope here because he has more hope in his heart, and that's that bridge that I like to tap into, where it's like I am showing you that I'm growing, even though the same things are still ailing me. I'm looking at it through a different lens.
How do you see? Because I don't know much about like your success in music right now. I followed for sure on Spotify. I always do that.
Let's go, man. Hey.
but J. Cole talked about that with I think is like Lil Pump instead of verses like in 2 years you're gonna be falling off. And
Yeah.
like now, where is he now?
Yeah.
How do you draw the line between like what you want to really make and versus like wow like I'm getting like a lot of hits talking about this but I don't really feel like talking about this.
Right.
Yeah.
It's I can equate it to chasing the laughter. You never want to chase the laughter. You never want to chase the joke. You never want to chase your previous success because it just turns into old candy. It's stale. It may still be a little bit sweet, but it's going to stick to your gums. It's not going to be good for you. So I don't want to change the same reaction. I want to chase that same emotion that I have. If I chase what emotion I tapped into, that should produce the same reaction as someone else, even if it's not the same topic of song. So like Lil Pump, for example, very surface level. Ooh, I got racks. Ooh, I got money. Got bitches on. Blah, blah, blah. Ooh, you know. And it's like cool. Like I'm done with this. This is stale. Stale moves. You know, if you've ever played Super Smash Bros. Melee. Forward smash, stale moves.
Oh yeah, it's like lightning with Pikachu. Just,
lightning, yeah. But then take J. Cole for example. Workout, banger. We got a good thing, you know, very flowy, and then Crooked Smile, like another hit, same different animal, same beast, and then just the Forest Hill Drive of like Don't Save Her, You'll Never Be the Same. He's tapping into the same emotion, but it's a different context because he's not chasing that hit. He's not trying to make a bop. He's just trying to give you a piece of him that he knows that you guys would love. And like that's the idea of me. So like I don't look to try to make the same record like, oh man, people really love Smell the Flowers. Cool. I'm not trying to make another Smell the Flowers. I want to make another song that kind of what they loved about it. Sure, they liked the beat. Sure, they liked the lyrics. But what they loved about it was my emotion on there.
Well, there's a thing because Tyler the Creator talked about when he made the song, I think it's like Earthquake, he wanted something that could be played in the radios. He wanted something that, not the song Earthquake, but he wanted stuff that could be bumped in the club because you can't bump anything that's Tyler the Creator.
Right.
And
yeah, no, you can't. Maybe Yonkers.
Fuck, that's aggressive.
Yeah, maybe.
But do you think like sometimes like I want to make a song that can be like on a hold music, like I want to make a song that can be played like in a grocery store.
Yeah.
You know, not directly doing that, but like can fit this situation.
Yeah. I think all artists should look for that timeless song. Drake said it best. Like he felt like he was his best on Take Care because that was like more him, quote unquote. But he wanted a timeless record, so he did Hold On, We're Going Home. You know, very just you can play the song anywhere. And then he made that his staple. Like now people could say Drake. I love Drake, but his stuff is very much so like
it's repetitive.
Repetitive. I mean, Hold On, We're Going Home and God's Plan. Like two different songs, both essentially timeless, both broke records, but it's repetitive. And then you look at a Kendrick Lamar who like damn could be played anywhere, but it's aggressive because the clubs are going to evolve with what the crowd accepts. And if everyone's putting the same stuff, the crowd's just going to accept like who's the popular name of all these repetitive stuff. Cool, we'll do that. But if they get something different, that's what the clubs will then be forced to play. So I'm not looking to emulate anyone. I'm looking to make a song that is like, yo, this song is a fucking hit. And if a DJ just plays it and just doesn't try to be scared of like what other people are thinking, it's like this song's a hit. I know this place is gonna go crazy for it. Let me play it. That's like the mindset that I'm trying to tap into.
I saw this post that said that a record label won't talk to you. Not that record labels are the shit anymore.
Yeah,
but
no, yeah.
it's just like unless you have like 500 followers or just like this X amount of streams, like they won't talk because they want a proven product and they're not really making flowers from the ground up.
Right.
Like, they want a tree.
Right.
Do you think about that as you kind of just do everything you do with entertainment?
Personally, no. I do. I'm very much aware. Like it's so funny. They take your numbers and followers on like everything, and they put it on a thing and say this is what you're worth, based off of your engagement. And we see that fail time and time again. The most egregious person was Smoke Perp. He had, I think, an insane amount of Instagram followers, and then he dropped Florida Jit, and it flopped because people weren't interested in his music. They were interested in the antics that he did. And the record label don't understand, like, music is so specific and unforgiving that the numbers that they're trying to calculate aren't the move. Like, just because you have 8 million IG followers does not mean you're getting 8 million plays on a record. And so because I understand that, I feel like I'm the smartest person in a record label if we ever have a meeting, because they're gonna try to tell me to do this and go here and sign a dotted line. Here's your 360 deal. And I'm like, no, because I know myself is what got me here. So I need to continue to be myself and integritize, if that's a word, my work to get me to where I need to go. And so I don't think about record labels or numbers or followers and all this stuff. Like, I just think about who's pressing play, why are they pressing play, and how can I get them to press play again.
Do you think with the attention span, do you make shorter music?
So that's so funny. If I'm making a single, absolutely. Like I went on this thing where I'm like, I'm doing 10 singles in 10 months, and I did it. And like some of my best music was produced there, and it was super small. Like I think the average track length for all those were like 2 minutes and 10 seconds potentially. But albums, I look at albums as like, this is where I'm at right now. And if you listen to an album, people typically don't care how long it is. And that's how I feel about like, and that was proven with Marvel movies. Like,
well, I listened to, because I've never listened to an album like back front to back. I did recently. The only time I did that is like when John Cena dropped his album,
Absolutely.
Time Is Now.
Yeah.
I sat on my staircase and then I just listened to the whole thing through. And I did it recently this past weekend with The Weeknd.
Such a great album. Yeah.
Yeah, and it seemed together because you didn't really feel it's like the beginning and end of another song.
Right.
I'm not sure if most people do that because like sometimes when it's just an abrupt like, yeah, we're going dropping dollars, and then it's just like, okay, that was a weird transition.
Yeah.
Do you think do you try to like model stuff like that?
So it's my biggest critique I've gotten from my friends, people, is my albums are too long, and I'm like, cool, because my favorite artist is Method Man. Love Method Man. First album I listened to from the end was Cacao 2000 Judgment Day. It was a concept album of Y2K, the world ending, and it was so mind blowing for me because there were so many skits in there. Track 1 was the countdown of the New York ball to an atomic bomb explosion, and it was just anarchy. And it was anarchy filled with rhymes, and there were skits in there, and I didn't give a shit how long it was. Especially in CDs, the most annoying thing about CDs was having to change it out once you're done with that album.
It's definitely a flow, like it takes you out of rhythm. I think when I watch some stuff and it's just, I don't know, I'm watching this thing and I'm like, well, if you lost me, like, oh yeah, I don't know. Do you try to model like how do you feel about Russ and how he drops? I'm not sure if he still does it, drop a single a week.
A single a week, yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I think, but that to me, that's just him like playing the algorithm, because the way I do it isn't algorithm friendly. It's I do a single. I did a single a month, and then when I got into album mode, I stopped posting. And algorithm's very unforgiving. If you stop posting, you stop popping up on people's feeds. So his album or his single a week was literally him being like, I'm posting so much consistently that you're forced to see my stuff, and it just creates a bigger buzz.
Well, wouldn't you think that? Because I do the same thing. Like I just react to TikToks and stuff like that, and then I post it on YouTube and I post it on Instagram, of course on TikTok, just so I can kind of expedite the process to kind of do what I want to do more.
Yeah.
Because if I get into longer form content and I'm already having like say like 10,000 subs on YouTube and I'm already monetized, it'll be a lot more easier to me to transition into full time comedy rather than if I just did open mics, just did guest spots, and that process is gonna take, like 10 years.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and you're absolutely correct. Like the way that I'm doing it is not the move if I'm trying to like explode. And don't get me wrong, I'm absolutely trying to explode.
I'm trying to gauge that right now.
Yeah, I'm absolutely trying to explode. And so I recognize that flaw in myself of me not being consistent with releases. So the rest of the way you described it, you're absolutely right. That is the best way to fucking do it. And it's a way that I need to do it more. It's just, and maybe this is my flaw, I put so much emotion in the music that I do, it's fucking draining. Like after I get an album mixed and done and chopped and I'm packaging it, I'm like, okay, I can just take a break from music right now, to be honest with you, because I'm like drained. But it doesn't do me any service because after I drop that, people are like, oh, what else do you have? And I'm like, nothing, man.
It's definitely helped because as I post like more stuff and because one thing like and if I post a video, it doesn't pop on all three. It pops on one and then it doesn't pop on the other. But like people like IG will see like, oh, you like this person's content? Let me post another one. It'll give you another one of his reels. Let me give you another one of his reels. And like, oh, then they just sound like they just like 18 of your reels. Where do you think of quantity over quality? Because I feel like quantity does give you the skills to kind of learn how to do something.
Yeah.
Like if I post a quantity of videos, that's really going to increase my skills in editing. So now I'm doing more quantity, but the quality is up because I know how to edit a lot quicker.
Right. Yeah. So it's hard because quantity over quality is beautiful when it comes to like filming and skits and stuff like that, because the person loves to see your growth. With music, for me, it's people listen to two things. Like the very uneducated listener, is the beat cool and does his flow sound good? But with music that, especially music that you like genuinely care about, you can take the time to be quality in the studio. Like you can take the time, you can practice. Hey, you can rehearse this. Like you can grow with this. So I was very much so over the quality over quantity, especially when it comes to music, because given the elevator pitch, show me a song, show me your latest song. And I'm like, oh, it's not that good. Let me scroll through real quick because I just try to rush it because I just wanted to have a whole bunch of music out. It's like, no. If someone wants to listen to you, they want to listen to you again. And that second listen is the most important one because they want to make sure that first thing that engaged them is exactly like that second song.
That's true. That's how I do it on Spotify. There's this girl, Cleo Soul. I don't know. You listen to her?
No.
Oh, but she had this one song I called like Her Light, and then I just like the first thing I do is go to her top 5 songs on Spotify, and then just do like, oh, how's the first one? Like, how's that second one? Just see if it keeps on going.
Absolutely, and it's like that's the most important thing about music, because the moment a person listens to your second song and they fuck with it, or even if it's not bad, it's like cool. You can guarantee that you're gonna get a third or even just a follow right there, and they'll just throw you on shuffle and see which ones they like. But if my shit is just, if I have like 100 songs, but they're all just sound like not good, they're not gonna wait for me to grow. They're gonna say you're a bad artist. But if people find out like, oh, you're editing your own stuff and you're growing and content, it's like, oh, I see his growth. This is hilarious. Most people find, especially YouTubers, they find people out on their 10th video, and they're like, this video is hilarious. And what do? Binge watch backwards. And it's a very rewarding thing because they're like, oh, I see where it's going, I see where it came from, this is really funny. This is the first time that joke was happening. This is the reference that I'm getting, and they feel a growth with you, especially as an editor. With the musician, you have to at least have some sort of quality in your first project you release so they can see that growth. A la Chance the Rapper. His shit sounded very muddled in the beginning, but you saw his quality there in a lot of tracks, and people loved growing with him until the big day happened. I fucked with the big day.
I did not fuck with
I love the big day.
Because the Chance had no strikes with me. And then like that album was so like it wasn't like everything because I was like, yo, like Chance Rapper doesn't miss.
He doesn't.
Then he missed a whole album, and then I was like, then I tried like there's this one 55th and Ingleside.
Yeah, the 4-pack, the 55th Ingleside, the workout, the My Mind Insecurity.
Was that after the big day or before the big day?
That was before the big day.
Yeah, so that was okay to me. I was like, it's all right. But then the big day, and I'm like, this is nothing.
Yeah.
Not one thing.
And for me, and this might tap you in how emotional I am, I love the big day for what it represented. Because he almost OD'd when he turned 21 on acid rap. And he had this lyric in there that said, my big homie died young, I just turned older than him. And that was like, oh, fuck. And he says, I tripped to make the fall shorter. Like, he takes acid to, like, make his depression not as thing. And so I'm doing that. And then the big day, I'm like, baby, I look good. I look handsome. Like, he's happy now. Fucking good for you, dude. And that's why I loved it, because I like the mindset he was in when it dropped. But that was me though, you know. Like
yeah, you're the minute.
Yeah, I'm the.
You looked at that album, was like, oh, one stream. Oh, that's Solomon right there.
Dude, Gucci slide, wearing Gucci slides, sliding around, boom, 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 boom. I love that shit, dude.
Well, even his manager said he really he freestyled the whole thing in the studio. He wasn't in it because I don't know if you heard about the fallout between him and his manager, but he was just like, I think one of them sued the other, but his manager like he did not take that album seriously at all, and that's why it flopped.
And to that point, he freestyled most of acid rap, but he was on acid during it, so maybe he just wasn't on acid. So he tried to like, oh, maybe just do it again, just not on acid. It's like, nah, man, fuck that.
Yeah, sober up. You're ruining your career.
Yeah.
Well, kind of to kind of cap this thing off, what would you say? Hopefully I get to have you back probably in another 20, 30 guests.
Hey.
What do you want to change with yourself right now?
Dude, I gained so much weight during quarantine. I just want to go back to my target weight, dog. Like, hands down, like, guaranteed. Like, I was working my way down to 225. Quarantine hit, I ballooned back up to 270 now. So I'm just like, this chair is like real MVP. And my buddy Vicente, shout out to Vicente, he gave me like this list of things. He wants 2 albums from me. He wants music videos. He wants me to work out at least 150 times throughout the year. 150 like workout days.
Just once every 2 days.
Yeah, throughout the year, and then he wants me to just stream Twitch more. So I think I really just want to hone in on my focus. To answer your question more directly, I want to let go of the branch of comfort and actually take a leap into success.
If someone could hear one of your songs, what should they listen to?
God's work.
God's work?
All my songs are hashtagged because, like, it's hashtag God's work.
So is that the name of the song?
So the song's just, this is hashtag symbol and then God's work. So, to make myself super easy to find.
Okay.
Yeah, because my rapper name is SO-LOW, and it's super generic. I'm very not creative when it comes to my rapper name. Okay. But God's work. Or Condoricus. Condoricus is dope.
Condoric? It's Condoric.
Condoricus.
Alright, I'll type that out.
Yeah, that's it.
Alright, well.
Honestly, all of my shit's dope. My bad.
We're ending the interview, Solomon.
Sorry. I have a new album coming out. It's going to be super sick.
What's it called?
It's called Vibes, but it's hashtag VAZ because I'm from Virginia and I live in Arizona.
Alright, fade to black.